What is up, everyone? Please take a second and hit that like button. The more likes that we get in a short period of time, the more people the algorithm will bring into the chat to come hang out with us and see what's going on. So please hit that like button. Let me know how you're doing. And happy freedom. Now, before you guys all hop in the chat and let me know, I already know that Kareen is live. But we start when we're ready. So we're going to watch it from the beginning. Don't you worry. You're not going to miss anything. Got lots to cover today. What is up, all you beautiful hooligans? What's up, Andy? What's up, Tim? What's up, Lifelike? What's up, Matthew? What's up, Andrew? Happy Freedom Robert. Happy Freedom Diana. What's up, Chris Cola? What's up, No Mandates? What's up, Garrett? What's up, Shanti? What's up, Grip Van Wrinkled? What's up, Flowers in Her Hair? What's up, High Plains Drifter? What's up, JB? Happy Freedom Snooks. Appreciate all you guys being here. What's up, Tia? Let's read through the chat really quick. Make sure everything is running smoothly. What's up, PJ? What's up, Sam? What's up, everyone on the Jeff Mac Live YouTube channel? What's up, Mr. Beansy Beans? What's up, Hypocrisy Sucks? What's up, everyone on Twitch? Appreciate you guys being here. Odyssey's being slow today. What's up, Livid Review? What's up, Nefties? Sam, you're omnipresent today. Got a couple omnipresent hooligans that just hang out on all platforms. They have the best experience because they get to chat with everyone. Oh, worked on the website a lot last night. Mods, you'll be given access today to get to the website to register your accounts. I've built special passes and stuff for you guys. There's also special passes that I made for beta testers for early arrival hooligans. So there's special hooligans that I'm going to be reaching out to through Gilded and stuff to give you guys a special code where you can go register on the website to start building your account, so you can go and have like early access and let me know what you think of everything. So expect that later today. Oh, and I think we have a Jeff Mac Rewind coming out on Odyssey later on today. Also, I talked to Edward a little bit ago, so we will have that coming out too. See, we got news on top of news. Don't you worry. We got plenty today. What's up, Serum? What's up, Joe? Happy Freedom, hooligans. Appreciate you guys watching on Rumble. Happy Freedom, Anthony. Thanks for being here. What's up, everyone on Facebook? Well, let's get her started. So today, of course, we're going to start with the White House press briefing because that's running live right now, but we're going to play it from the beginning. We're not going to start from wherever they are because why do that? Then we're going to be watching a video of Ron Desantis talking about, it's labeled border aid, but I think that he's pretty direct with what he's talking about. We'll cover that. It's worth listening to. Lots of comparison to what Texas is going through and like the border over there. Then we're going to talk about how California wants to ban natural gas heaters and furnaces by 2030. And then we're also going to talk about how New York governor proposed first ever statewide ban of gas hookups on on new buildings. So their new structures there, they're making a future without natural gas. So you can see how things are going. Like I've been saying, they make problems, and we're like, those problems don't seem like big problems. Then they turn around and say, well, here's the solution, and if you guys don't participate in the solution, then you're part of the problem, and we're here to erase problems. And that's where we are. That's where we are, being Nazi for the greater good. It's everywhere. It is everywhere. So let's get her started, hooligans. I'm going to read through the chat really quick. If you were coffeeed up, got your tea, warm water, whatever it is you got, your riot snacks, drop some ones in the chat while I take some time here to read through and see what everybody has going on. Happy Freedom, Native New Yorker. Happy Freedom, Robert. What's up, Kelly K? What's up, Mr. Coffee? What's up, Bloopy? What's up, Computer Guy? What's up, Clone One? What's up, Grey Wolf? Happy Freedom, Rasta. Red, first one in the chat. Alright, seeing those ones in the chat, let's get her started, Hooligans. This was just live. It's probably still live. We're just, you know, we're late to the briefing, but we'll see how it goes. Oh, and Peter's there. I did see that. Happy Frame Saw Dog. Remember to share this live out. Rack those likes up. More likes, more Hooligans on all platforms. There's Peter. I gotta cut off that last part. Stupid YouTube community guidelines trying to demonetize me over little swears. Little swears here and there. What's up, Red Dog? Happy Freedom. What's up, Hydrodynamic? I'm being shadow banned. Nah, I figured. It's probably because I got Desantis' name in the title. That's what I'm thinking. Happy Freedom Red America. What's up, Daryl? It's still live? Yeah. I figured they're still going. Look at everybody look at Peter when they walk in. They all just nod to him like, we know what you're here for. Peter showed up and he's hungry. She'll be walking out any second. Oh, and she looks crazy. I didn't warn you guys for that. Yeah, that's a thing. Crazier than normal. Scott, it's cold in Traverse City. I'm not too far from there. It's pretty brisk outside. Look at her outfit.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Prostitute.
Happy Friday, and I got the date right today. The day right today. Oh, well, it's gonna be a little crazy in here. Okay, as this week comes to a close, I want to take a moment to highlight the incredible progress the President has made for the American people in recent days, from expanding affordable health care to lowering costs and tackling inflation, to bringing manufacturing and jobs back to our shores. President Biden started the week at the North American Leaders Summit in Mexico City, where he spoke for 2-hour close cooperation with Mexico and Canada to address shared challenges that impact the American people. Challenges like combating climate change, COVID-19 pandemic, and transnational criminal organizations that are trafficking and smuggling people, as well as illicit drugs like fentanyl. The President spoke to our work to take thousands of smugglers off the streets, catch record levels of fentanyl before it even reaches our border, strengthen border security, and increase resources for border communities all over the opposition of Republican governors and Republican members of Congress.
How have we made it this long without anyone in the chat saying that she looks like mint chocolate chip ice cream? How do I got to be the first one to say it?
Congressional Democrats, enactment of the Inflation Reduction Act. On Wednesday, HHS announced its historic plans for Medicare to directly negotiate lower prescription drug costs. In addition, starting this month,
she kind of looks like she's got helmet hair going on up here.
Capped at $35 for a month's supply.
She's got to wear a helmet at the house with a big old chin strap.
Recommended vaccines for free. All of this thanks to, again, the Inflation Reduction Act. HHS also announced
Happy Freedom, Hooligans.
Healthcare coverage on the Affordable Health Care Act marketplace. Nearly 16 million people have signed up for this open enrollment period for healthcare coverage, a 13% increase from last year. And it includes over 3 million people who are brand new to the marketplace and were not even done with the open enrollment yet. Because of the cost savings measure in the Inflation Reduction Act that President Biden signed into law, millions of Americans are continuing to save $800 per year on health insurance on average. And 4 out of the 5 healthcare.gov enrollees.
So you can fill the gas tank up another 4 times a year.
A month. All of this adds up to real impact and meaningful progress to expand affordable, quality health care coverage for American families. And that matters. That matters to the American people. We also had...
Talk about that breathing room.
front as well on Wednesday, as you all saw, the largest solar investment in U.S. history, a direct result of the president's economic plan and the Inflation Reduction Act again. This $2.5 billion investment in Georgia will create 2,500 jobs. And yesterday we learned that for the 6th month in a row, inflation has indeed come down. Annual inflation has fallen to lowest level since October of 2021, and gas prices are down by more.
That's not saying anything.
From
Take it down to 2018. Bring it down to there. Do something. You can't say it's where we started messing things up. We got it down to where we started screwing everything up. No pats on the back for you. Sorry.
most major economies, it's coming down in America and giving families more breathing room. You hear the president say that all the time, how he wants to make sure that he's giving American families a little bit more of a breathing room. At the same time, the president is building an economy from the bottom up and middle out with the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years, nearly 11.
No matter what color she puts on her eyelids, she just looks like she has the eyelids of a burn victim.
Nearly $300 billion in major investments across the country. And as we end this week,
I'm sorry, but I think that every day when I watch this.
Today, President Biden welcomed Prime Minister Kishida of Japan to the White House. We will have a joint statement out for all of you shortly, laying out their conversation and their discussion this afternoon. But I can tell you that the two leaders are discussing the unprecedented actions we have taken together to better equip us for the 21st century challenges, as well as working to deepen our cooperation on everything from economics to technology to fighting the climate crisis, advancing peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific and around the world. Today's visit is a testament to President Biden's investment in our alliances and partnerships since day one, since he walked into the administration. And a historic week is leading into a historic weekend. I am so happy and glad to be joined by my colleague and former mayor of Atlanta, senior advisor for public engagement, Keisha Lance Bottoms, to talk about the president's trip this coming Sunday to the historic Ebenezer Baptist Church to remember and honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. this Sunday, as I just said. I know many of you had some interest here, so we wanted to make sure that she was here to answer any questions and to lay out why this day is going to be so important. I do want to say on a personal note, as Black women, we have broken barriers. This church and the day honoring King are near and dear to both of our hearts. I know on a personal level, we are both looking forward to joining the president on this trip and being in what has been the epicenter of the movement from civil rights in this country for decades. With that, Mayor Bottoms? Okay, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Prostitute.
Well, good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
It's kind of scary up here. All right. As Karine mentioned,
Don't be scared, you little sissy.
joining the president as he travels to Atlanta this weekend. As many of you all know, in Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech, he expressed many ideals that he would not live to witness. But I stand here, and many of you sit out there as beneficiaries of that dream, his sacrifice and service. So I am eternally grateful for that. As Kareem mentioned, the president is traveling to Atlanta. This is at the invitation of Reverend Warnock, and the president will deliver a sermon at Ebenezer Church, which of course was Dr. King's church. Also, Congressman John Lewis's church. The president spoke with Senator Warnock last night. Senator Warnock has been the pastor since 2005 at Ebenezer. They had a wonderful conversation about the significance of this historic.
She kind of looks like she has rapper chains on.
That the president is the
If she had gold teeth, she'd have the whole package.
to speak at a Sunday service at Ebenezer in its history. This would have been Dr. King's 94th birthday. As we know, this is an inflection point in history, and the president will deliver remarks reflecting on Dr. King's life and legacy and the way that we can go forward together. Following his trip to Atlanta on Sunday, he will join Reverend Al Sharpton on Monday at the National Action Network, which Monday, of course, is the official celebration day of the King holiday. The president will deliver the keynote speech there. And then finally, before I take any questions, this is an important day. As a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, it's our Founders Day, our 110th Founders Day. So the president did a lovely video for the women of Delta. Also, our Secretary of HUD, Marcia Fudge, was also a former national president of Delta. So the president and the vice president are very grateful for all of the support of the women of Delta and the Divine Nine.
I think I figured out why she's so weird looking. It's really light right here, and I was thinking, why would it be that way? I'm wondering if she walks around with a compliance cloth on all day.
Whether the issue of the documents is a particular setback for the president.
Or maybe it's other reasons.
Other things seem to be going pretty well. Inflation's coming down, employment is solid. Like, are you finding that you're getting a lot of response from the public on that? And how do you play that issue?
In my role as senior advisor for public engagement, we've not gotten any information on that in terms of from the public. We've not received any questions.
And do you anticipate that that will have any bearing or is causing the president to think at all about, as he's making his decision about whether to run again, will this series of discoveries have any bearing on his thinking and his thought process as he decides whether to run?
I'll refer those questions to the president. He can speak for himself on that.
While the president's in Atlanta, what do you expect his message to be on voting rights in particular? And given that the situation in the Senate remains virtually unchanged when he spoke about this issue in Atlanta last year, is he considering any additional executive action on this issue?
Well, the president has been very clear that we need Congress to act. He's asked for Congress to codify the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and also the additional Voting Rights Act that's pending before Congress. That's the Freedom to Vote Act. So the president has been very clear that voting, the right to vote, the access to vote is a core component of our democracy, and he's going to continue to push for that.
Including on Sunday at the church?
The president will speak on a number of issues at the church, including how important it is that we have access to our democracy. And you can't come to Atlanta and not acknowledge the role that the civil rights movement and Dr. King played and where we are in the history of our country. But we still have to push forward. We still have more work to do.
And just one other thing, do you expect him to have any engagement with the King family while he's down there?
We do expect that. I know on previous Sundays, previous King Day services, and many Sundays prior to the pandemic, Dr. King's sister
Brian says, my pitbull's got a chain like that.
be there this Sunday, and we also expect other members of the King family to be there as well.
In regards to the voting rights, last time around this time when President Biden went to Atlanta, some of the civil rights groups and voting rights groups skipped the speech out of concern that the White House.
Why is Peter's socks so loud?
To push this issue, aside from wanting Congress.
Someone needs to tap him on the shoulder, tell the socks to chill out.
Message to those who feel the White House is not doing enough.
Well, as I've been in this role as senior advisor to the president since June of last year, we have engaged with civil rights leaders. He's had them at the White House in a round table. I'm in constant contact with them. And I think that it's very clear that the president is doing everything that he can in his executive power to lean in on voting rights. But we need Congress to do more. This is important. If you've come through the East Wing, you've seen the pictures of Dr. King meeting with Lyndon Johnson, meeting with other civil rights.
Andrew, those his Friday socks? Could be.
So the fact that we are still here talking about this in 2023, I think really speaks to the fact that we need action. We need that action from Congress. The president has done and will continue to do all that he can do in his executive powers, but there's only so much that he can do.
Poor sign language lady looks like she's withering away. They just keep her locked in that closet with the camera,
Exhausted
like Harry Potter.
powers from the White House, his executive powers.
Well, if there is more that he can do, we welcome those suggestions. But as I stand here today, it's my understanding that we have done all that we can do from the executive branch. Now we need Congress to act.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much, Mayor Lyons, for being here. Really appreciate it. When you look at the economy, you saw the unemployment rate come down last month, and yet it went up for Black women, for Latinos. What is your reaction? How focused is this administration on trying to make sure that the recovery is equal, is helping African?
Can you speak up a little bit?
Equity is at the center of what we do from this administration, and so that's extremely important. You know, it's been said that when America catches a cold, then Black America catches the flu. Well, that's also in relation to the economy. We often know that communities of color and those communities that often face additional challenges have additional challenges with the economy. The great news is that the economy is doing much better under this administration. Also, the president is going to continue to lean in to make sure that we have access.
I'd rather he didn't.
Resources that are specific to communities of color, that are specific to women, to give us those opportunities to be successful in this economy.
Do you anticipate him addressing that in his remarks on Monday?
I know
Old man Walter leaning in. What do you think old man Walter's breath smell like?
in terms of helping those who are in need in our communities. I don't know if he will specifically address the economy, but as you all know, during Dr. King's last major campaign before his assassination, it was called the Poor People's Campaign. And what we know is that from this administration, many of the focus areas have been aligned with what Dr. King was focused on at the time of his assassination. That's making sure that we are creating this beloved community, free from hate, free from poverty, giving people access to resources so that they can have what they need to compete and succeed.
Thank you. Thinking back to the 2020 campaign, part of the president's strategy at the time was going to visit these churches to engage some of the voters that he needed to turn out for him. In South Carolina, there was the 16th Street bombing anniversary that he spoke at in Alabama, and also on hand in Selma for Bloody Sunday. Is this speech at Ebenezer the start of a similar outreach campaign heading into 2024?
I don't know that it's...
I'm not even sure why we're hearing this. This is like day 2 of talking about upcoming Martin Luther King Day. We should just change it to Martin Luther King Week if that's how we're doing it. According to the White House, they started celebrating it like 2 days ago.
Truly hears and understands the needs of people, and there's no better place than to do that than at Ebenezer. Reverend Warnock has not just been very vocal about the challenges and the issues that are facing people as a candidate, but also as a pastor. And Ebenezer is a cornerstone in the Atlanta community, and I'm sure the president will get an earful on what our needs and our desires are for our country when he's there.
Can you provide any insight into the writing process for this speech? I know that oftentimes there's a lot of time paid attention to speeches like this. How long the president's been working on it for?
We've been working on it for a couple of weeks just as a team, and of course with the president's input. And as with any major speech that the president is giving, he gives his input, and the team takes it from there, and then he takes his pen and he says what he wants to say, and you'll hear that on Sunday.
Okay, is it finished?
No.
It's never finished. Okay.
Just one question. Obviously, Democrats had a big victory in the runoff election in Georgia. He's going back to a historic Black institution to speak of this church. You know, how do you see the state, your home state, kind of fit into the political landscape going forward now?
Georgia's pretty important. I think I've always thought that. Now the rest of the country knows it. We know that Georgia's played an important role with how our Senate is now comprised, and I expect that role will continue to be just as important in future election cycles.
Okay, last question.
And remember,
Sorry.
I just have to say this,
Go for it.
Georgia did go for Joe Biden, all right?
Go ahead, Ebony. Last question.
Oh yeah, had to say that, did you? Just in case? Just in case?
Monday or on Sunday when he's at Ebenezer, is he going to be meeting with any civil rights organizations at any point during any of those visits?
Well, as I mentioned, on Monday, he will be joining Reverend Al at the National Action Network. There'll be many civil rights representatives there. There will be many at the church who will also have an opportunity to connect with the president while he's there.
Nothing separately.
Nothing separately, but there will be some engagement while at the church.
And at the policy forum with Reverend Al Sharpton, when he attends the NAN event, what
I thought that was Purple Barney for a second there.
talking about on that day, or what kind of policies?
Corinne's friend. It's like a BLM protester in D.C. who always wears like a Trump mask or a horse head or whatever and does interpretive dancing really violently in the street, counter-protesting anyone else's opinion.
Time engagement. Reverend Al and some of the other civil rights leaders, I believe from 8 other organizations, were in the White House a few months ago, sitting down with the president, sharing their concerns. My office, me personally, I'm constantly engaged with these civil rights leaders, so we're hearing in real time what our challenges are, and I think I can safely say that we have confidence in many of these leaders that we are doing what we can do.
How many leaders do we really need? We got leaders of everything. I'd make a reference, but I don't know if we can say that reference anymore.
So much.
Thank you. Thank you.
How did you feel that the President Biden picked Kamala Harris instead of you?
Oh, Simon's there.
Okay, thanks everybody, and thank you so much, Keisha.
Prostitute.
Appreciate it. I have a couple things at the top that I just want to go through. This is the week ahead, so all of you have this.
Why are you not showing up next week?
Take questions. So later today, the president's going to travel to Wilmington, Delaware, as you all know. On Sunday, as you just heard from Mayor Lance Bottoms, the president will travel to Atlanta, Georgia, and deliver a sermon at Ebenezer Baptist Church. And on Monday, he will return to Washington, D.C. to join Reverend Al Sharpton and the National Action Network at their Martin Luther King Jr. Day breakfast, where he will deliver the keynote address. On Tuesday, the president looks forward to welcoming Prime Minister Mark Rutte of the Netherlands to the White House to further deepen the historic ties between our two nations. As strong NATO allies and global partners, the two leaders will reaffirm our shared efforts to strengthen transatlantic security and economic prosperity.
She either dresses like a boy, a child, or Little House on the Prairie. That's like her style, by choice or otherwise.
The president will welcome bipartisan mayors attending the U.S. Conference of Mayors winter meeting to the White House.
I wish I could sit right there in the press briefing room and give this commentary right in front of her while looking her in the face.
And focusing on the bipartisan work that needs to be done to implement these and other historic pieces of legislative victories at the local level to make a difference in people's lives across the country. With that, Chris, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Question on a couple different topics. Speaker McCarthy's invited the president to deliver the State of the Union on February 7th. That just went out. Is that the date that the president plans to give the State of the Union? Does he accept that invitation?
So we have received Speaker McCarthy's kind invitation, and the president has accepted it. And looks forward to delivering the State of the Union address on Tuesday, February 17th of 2023. So we are, oh my God, I'm so sorry, guys. On Tuesday, February 7th.
She don't know what day it is. John Costello looks like the Kill Bill outfit, just a different color. You're not wrong. That's what I think you hit it. I think that's what it is.
Is the president willing to cut any spending as part of a debt limit deal, and what would he be willing to cut?
Look, as you've heard us say before, we will not be doing any negotiation over the debt ceiling. But broadly speaking, at the start of this new Congress, we're reaching out to all the members through the Office of Leg Affairs, making sure that we have those connections with those new members, as I just stated. But I want to say, like in the past, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, there's been a bipartisan cooperation when it comes to lifting the debt ceiling, and that's how it should be. That's how it should continue. It's not and should not be a political football. This is not political gamemanship, and this should be done without.
Happy for him, Donna Sparks. Thanks for being here.
You say that there'll be no negotiating. You will not negotiate anything involving spending? but
What we're saying is that this should be done without conditions. In the past, we have seen this, both Republicans and Democrats come together to deal with this issue. It is one of the basic items that Congress has to deal with, and it should be done without conditions. So there's going to be no negotiation over it. This is something that must get done.
And does the president agree with the Treasury Secretary that the debt ceiling should be eliminated?
Again, I've spoken to this before. That is not, no one is talking about eliminating the debt ceiling or the debt limit. That's not what we're talking about right now. Congress is going to need to raise the debt limit without condition. So that is not what the discussion that we're having.
Very last thing, have White House officials been interviewed by the special counsel or by the Justice Department involving the classified documents?
So what I'll say from here is any questions that we may have about the review, about the process, I would refer you to the Department of Justice. I would also refer you to my colleagues over at the White House Counsel. I'm not going to get into any specifics from here. Go ahead, Mary.
Aside from the special counsel, aside from this review, I just have a question about process and classified documents and their handling, because I think there's some confusion amongst the public and even...
Yeah, let's put a little bit more spotlight on that.
To make sure that classified documents aren't accidentally or intentionally taken when a president or vice president leaves office. You know, what's the protocol, or is this sort of just, you know, a self-review system?
It's a good question. I would, on the process and how that works, I would certainly refer you to the White House Counsel's office. They would know that. They can walk you through that. My colleagues there, and I know many of you have been in touch with my colleagues in the last 24 hours, in direct touch, and answering many of your questions. So I would refer you to them on the specific process, so that they will certainly guide you in the right way.
But as far as you know, is it ever okay for classified documents to be mixed with personal evidence?
What I can say, what I can say is what the president has said before, what I have said.
Well, you could just say the truth.
Seriously. The president takes classified information, classified documents very seriously. But look, you know, I've said this before. We have addressed this issue multiple times at length. And we have been fully cooperating with the Department of Justice, and now we will be doing the same with the Special Counsel's Office, just to be prudent here and just to make sure that we are consistent. I would refer you anything that is related to this, as it relates to the review, to the Department of Justice or my colleagues at the White House Counsel Office. And we see it as the best way to move forward. We want to respect the process, and so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to refer you to the Department of Justice.
Just to be clear, you're confident he followed whatever protocol was in place?
Again, this is something that he takes very seriously, the president, when it comes to classified documents, when it comes to classified information. I'm not going to go into any specifics from here. If you have any questions, anything further that's related to the review, or I will refer you to the Department of Justice or my colleagues over at the White House Counsel's Office, who I know many of you who I'm staring at right now has been in close touch. Go ahead, Ed.
A few things, Corinne, thank you. Following up on the State of the Union, I believe it was the president who suggested he has spoken with Speaker McCarthy. Are there any plans for them to meet in person before February?
Yeah, they spoke, and I think we actually shared that with all of you. The day that Speaker McCarthy became Speaker, you saw a statement from the President and the First Lady congratulating Kevin McCarthy becoming Speaker. And then the next day, I believe that was on a Friday, I believe the next day, which was a Saturday, the President had a direct conversation. He connected with Speaker McCarthy and congratulated him in person.
No plans yet for,
I don't have a plan. I don't have a scheduled meeting to share with you at this time.
Two brain cells rubbed together.
When was the president informed about the Attorney General's decision to appoint a special counsel? How and by whom?
So, the specifics on that, here's what I can tell you. I can tell you that we were not giving a heads up. I was asked that question yesterday. We did not know that was the announcement was going to come yesterday until after it happened, so I can clear the deck there and let you know. Anything else specific to when the president knew or anything that's related to this, I would refer you to the White House Counsel's Office. I know many of you that I'm looking at right now has been in close touch with my colleague there. And so I would continue to refer you to my colleague at the White House Counsel's Office.
One of the things that they finally confirmed for us is that Bob Bauer is indeed the president's personal attorney handling some of this. given that the Justice Department cited the personal counsel as having made this initial outreach to National Archives and has been in touch with the Justice Department, is that the person who these questions should be directed to? Why the White House counsel?
I will say this again, whatever the White House counsel, my colleague told you in your conversation, I know you guys just spoke or connected earlier today, I would ask them that question. And anything related to the review, I would refer you to the Department of Justice.
And regarding the extraordinary measures that the Treasury Secretary announced a little while ago in advance notice to Congress, is there a policy that requires her to give advance notice of those plans?
You have to reach out to the Department of Treasury on how that process works. What I can say is, just so that everyone knows, folks who are watching, the debt limit is projected to be reached on Thursday, January 19th. At that point, Treasury will begin to take extraordinary measures to prevent default. Secretary Yellen did not name a specific X date, if you will. The day Treasury would no longer be able to pay the government's obligations. But quoting from the Secretary's letter, it's unlikely that cash and extraordinary measures will be exhausted before early June. But that does not mean that Congress should not wait until then to raise the debt ceiling, as we have been saying over and over again. The sooner Congress acts, the better, since even the prospect of not raising the debt ceiling will have damage the full faith and the credit of our nation. And again, we are...
Debt damage. They just make up new words every day.
As far as the steps and how this all works, I would refer you to the Department of Treasury.
6 days till the 19th. A few years ago, she did it about 10 days before.
I understand. I would refer you to the Department of Treasury.
Nothing to it being announced today amid the situation that the White House is facing.
I would refer you to Department of Treasury. And just to be very clear here, Ed, I've been in here almost every day since we got back from Mexico City, standing here taking your questions at length. So that we're not avoiding anything here, and you've heard from the president at least twice, and we have put forth multiple statements.
Happy Freedom Ink scars.
So that suggestion I just disagree with. Go ahead, Kristen.
Karine, thank you so much. Does the White House and does the president agree to fully cooperate with the special counsel investigation?
We have said that we are going to continue to fully cooperate. We have been. The president's lawyers and team has been fully cooperating with the Department of Justice, and we're certain.
Happy Freedom betrayed by corrupt scumbags. Thanks for being here. Happy Freedom my before.
Agreed to sit for an on-the-record, in-person
I'm not going to get into specifics or get ahead of what's going to happen. I'm not going to get into hypotheticals because that is a hypothetical. What I will say is we have addressed this multiple times at length, and we are going to continue, the president's team is going to continue to fully cooperate with the Department of Justice, and we respect that process, and that's what we're going to do.
The president has said he hopes to speak about this soon. When can people expect to hear from him?
Don't have, again, that is something that I don't have a magic.
Crumbling right in front of us.
Happen. What I can say is his team.
What's up, Relic?
Cooperate with the Department of Justice.
Happy New Year, Darth Maul. Welcome to the live.
That when it comes to the Department of Justice independence, he respects that. And that is something that he had said was incredibly important to make sure that they had their independence. That's why we say we're going to make sure that they have their independence, and that's why I'm saying that we're going to refer to Department of Justice.
And let me just ask you a big picture question here. Does the White House
Peter's like, all right, I'm ready.
have an obligation to share not just with the National Archives, but with the American people when the existence of classified information is found in a private location?
Again, there's a process in this.
But just big picture, not necessarily in this instance, but is
I roll.
the White House that they should share that information not just with the National Archives, but with the Americans?
So I'll say this, Kristen. We have been transparent in the last couple of days. Remember, there's an ongoing process, and we have...
Hillbilly at heart. What is the racing stripes on our sleeves for? What do you mean it adds 5 horses?
Every day, not every day, but from Wednesday, yesterday, and today, taking your questions on this. The White House counsel has put out a very extensive, multiple statements on this as well. And you all, I know, you all have been talking, many of you here have been talking.
You all. Can't talk like that anymore, Karine.
What the actions that we took were right actions that his team took in in dealing with the Department of Justice and also the archives. Look, I have.
You guys have answered questions when the press has broken and the news.
Frail. She's looking frail.
Because again, it is an ongoing process. There is a process here. The Department of Justice is independent. We respect that process. But again, I have taken questions. I can take two questions to 100 questions. I have answered your questions as almost every day on this issue. And again, anything else that you may have, anything that's related to the review, I would refer you to the Department of Justice.
One last question, because I know you've got to move on here. But the president campaigned on the argument that he would restore confidence. We know that he's in the process of deciding whether to officially announce he's running for re-election. Does this episode undercut that argument, that he would restore confidence? Because here we have in the headlines that he is now under investigation.
He's
by
restored
special
independence in the Department of Justice. That's what we're doing here. When we're saying...
Is that what he did? That's why he was the department, the DOJ was at Mar-a-Lago? Is that why the FBI is kicking everybody's door in? Is they're independent now? They run rogue. They do what they want.
For the last 2 years.
Good job, old man Walter. Trash can.
Legal issue or matter like this, we have always referred to the Department of Justice. So there's nothing here different here. We have said we wanted to restore the independence of the Department of Justice. That is what you're seeing. And again, this has been done in a transparent way. When it relates to how this was dealt with the Department of Justice and the archives. The president takes this very, very seriously. Any other questions that you may have about this particular issue, about the review, I would refer you to the Department of Justice. You guys have been in touch with my colleagues at the White House Counsel Office, and I would suggest that you continue to reach out. Go ahead, Stephen.
Thanks. I just want to press you on that point about the idea of disclosures when it's appropriate. You describe a process, but it sort of feels like a strategy. A communication strategy to protect the president from political damage. Was it the hope and expectation?
He said you sound like you're lying.
And not have been subject to public disclosure?
Look, Stephen, that's your version of the case. I've been very clear.
Ooh, you sound mad.
And, I've answered that question multiple times in different versions, right, in the last couple of days. Look, want to be very clear. There is a process here. We are going to respect the process. This is all part of the Department of Justice process, and we are cooperating.
Come on, hooligans. Rack those likes up. More likes, more hooligans.
And again, the president believes that the Justice Department and its independence needed to be restored. That's what you have seen under this administration the last 2 years. And I want to be consistent in what I'm saying. I want to be prudent in what I'm saying when I say that we are going to defer any questions related to this to the Department of Justice and any other items that you have. If you don't want to talk to the Department of Justice, you're free to talk to the White House Counsel Office. I know you guys have been in touch with my colleagues there.
We have done both. But let me just ask you, because oftentimes in the careers of White House press secretaries, there comes a time where they are asked, what they knew and when they knew it. Were you or any member of your staff involved in the crafting of a strategy as to when this disclosure should be made in advance of CBS News breaking the story on Monday evening?
No. Go ahead. Okay. Oh, did you have a question?
I did. Driving down the ends of it. A couple of eco questions for you. Do you have a position on how high the debt limit should be raised?
The voice doesn't match the face.
On that, what I can say more.
Thank you so much, big fella, for that $5 donation on YouTube. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. If he takes classified documents so seriously, how did this happen? He should be raided. I think he was raided, and I think that's how they found the documents. And people are pointing out that Hunter's address on his driver license that's floating around the internet is the same location where they found the top secret documents. So people are wondering if that house was raided because of the laptop and they found the documents. There's lots of speculation, not very many answers. I think there's some stuff going on in the background, but you're right. If he takes it so seriously, why is he surprised that they were there?
Office of Legislative Affairs has been in touch with the new Congress to make sure that they know who to reach out, the appropriate people to reach out on the Office of Legislative Affairs. And so we're going to continue. We're always having conversations with members of Congress. The president always has multiple conversations with members of Congress. As you know, he has a lot of longtime friends who are over on the other side of Pennsylvania. And so that is something that continues. But when it comes to this, when it comes to the debt limit, it should be done without conditions. It was done under the last president 3 times in a bipartisan way, and so this should continue.
Very quickly on the CPI data yesterday, pretty good result there. That comes on the heels of the jobs data, which was pretty strong. Your officials have been kind of, jazzed about that, it seems, on TV in the last 24 hours or so. Is it fair to say that the White House is thinking this is what a soft landing could look like, or are you not getting that far?
Look, what we can say. Team soft landing. I'll say this, and as you said, you've heard from many of my colleagues who are.
How can you say that you guys are transparent in what you can say in the same press briefing?
It just goes back to the president's economic plan, and we see it as it's working, right? With what the vision that the president has for this country. When you think about when he came in, he passed the American Rescue Plan. You think about all the other historic pieces of legislation, the bipartisan infrastructure legislation. I talked multiple times at the top about the Inflation Reduction Act. Look, it matters what the vision of a president is and him acting out on it, and that's what you saw.
G-Ski, she is on the ledge. Yeah, she's looking real frail up there.
Economic plan. When you see annual inflation down 6.5% from where it was this summer, just this summer at 9.1%.
You don't get pats on the back for fixing your own problems you caused.
From its peak. All of that matters. And so that's how we're seeing this. We're seeing it as the president's economic plan is indeed working. We are going to continue to put the American families and American people first and work on this issue that you hear us talk about all the time. His number one economic issue is bringing down inflation. That's why the Inflation Reduction Act, what I talked about, when you think about healthcare, when you think about Medicare and negotiating those prices, when you think about what we announced in Georgia, 2,500.
Captain Seamus, I wish I could get away with saying that.
Reduction Act, all of that matters, and all of that is important in its more broadly speaking about the president's economic plan. Look, we believe that we continue to be in this transition of stable and steady growth, and I think that's what we believe. That's what the numbers continue to show as you talk about the jobs report that we saw recently, and as we talk about the CPI data.
You're not calling it a soft landing?
I'm just saying that we are in this transition of transition to stable and steady growth, and we believe that
I need to get the Seth Rogen laugh soundbite because it's comparable to whatever she has going on over there, like she's starting up an old jalopy.
For several weeks before, he was in touch with.
Looking into what exactly?
The classified documents.
Okay.
He was in touch with.
Yes.
President Biden's counsel. I wanted to know, was President Biden, was the White House surprised that along with Merrick Garland that they decided that more investigation was needed and a special counsel was appointed?
What I can tell you is that we were not given a heads up that Attorney General Garland was going to made his announcement yesterday on the special counsel. That is something.
Yep.
That we learned, like many of you.
We beat her to it every day.
I'm not going to get into anything further from that. I can't speak to this person who you just mentioned, who has been.
Thank you so much, Sam, for gifting 5 memberships over on YouTube. I appreciate you. You hooligans that are claiming those memberships, make sure you thank Sam, because that stuff is not free. Thank you, Sam.
And office to talk to my colleagues on any particular questions that you may have that's related to this process. And if it's something that you want to know specifically about the review, I will refer you to Department of Justice.
When President Biden did say, God willing, he hoped to be able to say more soon. I mean, it seemed like he was thinking that the investigation would end soon. Was he surprised?
I'm just not going to go beyond what the president said. I will say this is that we are going to continue to fully cooperate. As I've said, we have talked about this at length. We've had multiple statements on this, and again, want to be prudent here. I'm going to be consistent here. Any questions that you may have about this process, I would refer you to the White House counsel.
Another topic. I wanted to ask about
Robert, Seth Rogen laugh locked in my head now. My bad.
Shooting case. Does it concern the administration that some gun control advocates are concerned or worried about the appeal by the DOJ, and that appeal undercuts Biden's own stance on background checks, and actually also
See Antifa back there?
Applauding the DOJ's move.
So look, when it comes to issues like this, legal issues, that is something that the Department of Justice deals with. Again, they are independent, so I would refer you to them on their decision. The president continues to be committed on making sure that we address an issue that is affecting families across the country, communities across the country, which is gun violence. That's why it was so critical when he signed the bipartisan piece of legislation.
She thinks she's the White House operator. She just takes press members and plugs them into someone else through a referral. I'll refer you to someone else to do the heavy lifting because I have no answers. If I only had a brain.
On dealing with this issue, on dealing with protecting our communities, protecting families, dealing with gun violence, and that is that call that he has, especially the call to action from Congress, is going to continue, and it's not going to stop.
Thank you so much, Big Fella, for the $2 donation on YouTube. KJP is going to yell, "Go, go, Power Rangers" with that outfit. Thank you so much.
Online propaganda from adversaries seeking to take advantage from this revolution.
I'm sorry, can you go back a little bit? Who's seeking to take advantage?
We have seen online propaganda from adversaries seeking to take advantage of the revelation of the classified documents. I wonder if you can share with us whether the administration is anticipating any kind of national security implications from this fallout. Are you hearing any kind of intelligence, and are you doing anything to deter those threats?
Again, I'm just not going to talk about any intelligence from here. I would certainly, anything that's related to this, I would refer you to the Department of Justice and also refer you to my colleagues at the White House Counsel. I'm just not going to go into anything, especially national security affairs, and so I would refer you to them.
I'd probably follow up with your National Security Council friends. Okay,
That'd be great.
On the meeting, I know we're waiting for a readout, but if you can tell us whether the leaders spoke about semiconductors and whether Japan confirmed that it will enact export controls to limit Chinese access to semiconductors.
Look at Simon sitting there. He's like, she's not going to call on me today.
Biden, as he has done so many times, if he would be open to joining CPTPP.
So on CPTPP, this is not an option we're exploring.
I need to pick up TP today. Thanks for reminding me.
IPEF, as you know, the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, negotiations and deepening our economic ties with those 13 partners, many of which are TPP partners. So that is going to be our focus. That has not changed. As it relates, again, I don't want to get ahead of the conversation. They're currently still having a dialogue. The bilat is still occurring. But I expect they will discuss China, Russia's war against Ukraine, and the DPRK's unlawful nuclear and missile programs, and the leaders will focus on what they can get done together in 2023. Japan holds in the G7 presidency and has just taken a non-permanent seat on the UN Security Council, while we're hosting the APEC and seeking to make shift progress on the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. Prime Minister Kishida arrived at the White House, as you all know. I believe my colleague laid out what came out of that 2+2 after consulting closely with us and regional partners in Europe, and I expect the President and the Prime Minister Kishida will debrief on those consultations.
In 20 years, everything's going to be acronyms. We're just going to bark sounds and letters at each other. It's going to be like Mars Attacks. We'll be walking around like, doing stuff like that.
Because we really haven't heard much about this framework since it was launched last year. So at this point, it seems like the administration still believes that this is the best offer that the U.S. can give to counter Chinese trade clout. Am I understanding this?
I don't know what she said, but it sounded like she said pound Chinese, and that was funny enough for me.
And Japan was a critical partner, as you know, in helping us to build support, particularly among Southeast Asian countries. So that is important. Again, Japan has been a critical partner in this. IPEF partners represent 40% of the world GDP, and we are united in our belief that much of our success and
I think you guys are on board with me. I see a lot of hooligans picking up what I'm laying down here.
So that is part of it, right? We got to see how this works through, especially the transformations afoot in the clean energy, digital, technology sectors, while fortifying our economies against a range of threats, from fragile supply chains to corruption to tax havens. So again, with Japan's partnerships and leadership in the negotiations, we expect to achieve.
Make sure you hooligans watching are racking those likes up. Hit that subscribe button. We go live every day except for Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time.
This year. So this is a partnership that is incredibly important. Japan played a very big role in it. When you think about it represents the 40% of the world GDP. And so, look, this is, again, an important partnership. This is a framework that we are incredibly committed to, and we appreciate Japan's partnership in this. Oh, yeah.
Look at her. She's like, someone put your hand up. Anyone but Peter.
So the U.S. Chamber of Commerce embraced President Biden in 2020, and now the president of the U.S. Chamber says that the businesses it represents are fed up with the government making it harder to do business and adding new rules and regulations. Do you have any response?
Yes, I do. First thing, the president's first 2 years in office have been the best for job creation in history. When you think about nearly 10.5 million jobs created, manufacturing and small businesses are on the rise, and we are seeing progress in our fight against global inflation. So that's the first piece to just lay out there. The second, look, I don't think that it's all of the chamber's presidents who said that. She also called out polarization and gridlock and called for permitting reform, immigration reform, improving child care, improving climate resilience, and funding law enforcement. So those are all areas where President has called for Congress to act. And we also agree with the chamber that Congress must address the debt limit, and we can, quote, not play chicken with the true faith and credit of the United States. That's end quote. And lastly, let me just say, as I think everyone is aware, the last 2 years showed historic bipartisan progress for the American people. I've talked about during this.
I haven't seen much progress of anything in the last 2 years.
Again, historic pieces of legislation, including on rebuilding our infrastructure and investing in American manufacturing. So the president's plans on infrastructure, next generation research, clean energy, and manufacturing are strongly supported by business community. Again, we do outreach to different communities when we talk about these important pieces of legislation, when we talk about the president's economic plan, but he also believes big corporations should pay their fair share in taxes. And that's not just us. That's also the American public who believes that they should be doing this.
Yes, tell us what we think and believe.
Adding, and I'll quote her, when regulations are driven by ideological agendas and imposed on businesses without transparency, accountability, or clarity, government isn't working. So will there be changes in its government working?
Look, I'll say this. Our administration is leveraging every available tool to advance the president's ambitious agenda for the country and to deliver for the American people. That's the president's primary goal. When he came into the administration, and it continues to be the case, he wanted to make sure that he's delivering for the American people, delivering for American families, making sure that we're building an economy from the bottom up, middle out, and that's what you are seeing. I was just asked about the inflation data, the CPI data, and the jobs report. We are seeing, while there's still more work to do, we are seeing the president's economic policy is actually working. Okay. Go ahead, Alex, in the back.
Yeah, Karine, earlier this week we discussed the situation in Florida with, I think, about 350 Cuban migrants landing at Dry Tortuga and Key West. I believe you said it was a political ploy on the part of Governor Desantis to deploy the National Guard. His office has said that the Coast Guard requested help patrolling the waters off Florida. So can you just kind of discuss your understanding of the situation in Florida and how that understanding has developed in the last several days?
And I'm happy to repeat what I said, which is Governor Desantis has made a mockery of the system, and he has consistently and constantly, as many of you have reported, has done political stunts, has not helped to address the issue, but has instead decided to put the lives of migrants who are coming here for a better life at risk, and that's what we have seen from this governor. Look, when it comes to the Coast Guard and Customs and Border Protection, they are deploying additional personnel and resources to Florida to quickly process individuals and place them in removal proceedings. proceedings. I would note that the migrants from Cuba who arrived in Florida over a week ago were processed and moved out of the state by Border Patrol within days. At the national park that you mentioned,
We're going to cover this, what she's talking about right now. We're going to watch the video of DeSantis speaking.
Orderly legal pathways for migration, including for Cubans, and we continue to urge individuals to use those instead of risking their lives at the hands of human strugglers. And you heard that directly from this president.
Human strugglers? Pretty sure that's not what you meant, Karine.
I'm going to try and call folks I haven't. Go ahead, Karen. Folks I haven't called.
Anyone but Peter.
You've several times today referred people to the White House counsel for questions about the process and the review. Would you bring Richard Sauber here or someone from his team to answer these questions in the briefing room in a formal capacity?
So look, the White House counsel's office has provided information on this this week as appropriate. Again, I think I just said this, I've said this multiple times during this briefing, that I know in the last 24 hours, my colleagues at the White House Counsel White House Counsel's office has been in touch with many of you and has answered a lot of your questions. And so that will continue. You reach out to them and they will certainly engage. And so I'm going to leave it there. But again, anything that is related to this review, I would send you to Department of Justice. Again, if there is something specific to this that you want from us, I would refer you to the White House Counsel office.
And is the White House concerned that this investigation is going to overshadow what you are trying to do right now, what your message is right now?
Look, our message is very clear, and it will continue to be just that. And you've seen it. That's why when I started the briefing, I laid out.
Mr. McThicket Nugget wants to join us. Say hi, Klaus Daniels. Say hello.
When you think about the Inflation Reduction Act, when you think about how it's going to lower cost for American families, when you think about the bipartisan infrastructure legislation, just recently, as some of you were there in Kentucky, where you saw bipartisanship talking about a bridge that has, for decades, presidents have talked about fixing that bridge. And this president, because of the bipartisanship that he was able to bring together, got that done. And so, look, we're not going to stop talking about how we're going to deliver for the American people. I actually think, and we actually believe, there are people who are watching, the American people who are watching want to hear that. They want to hear what I just laid out at the beginning of the briefing. They want to know.
Had to take a cat break.
This administration, how the federal government is delivering for them. So we're going to continue to have those conversations. You're going to continue to hear from me speaking about that. You heard from the president yesterday talking about the CPI.
What is she preparing to run out without getting a question from Peter?
Go down in six months, and how we're seeing record low unemployment in 50 years. That is conversation, and that work is going to continue. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Run. Look at Peter with his hand in the air. Only person didn't get called on. She's so scared. Trash panda. My goodness. Full-blown dumpster fire of a human being. Anybody but Peter. I told you she was going to do that. Trash Bandicoot. All right, hooligans. Well, that's not that. That was just the start of the show. It just took an hour. It is what it is. All right, hooligans. Make sure you guys rack those likes up. We're going to move forward now that my brain is jello after listening to her flap her lips. All right, so that was the press briefing. Now we're going to cover Ron DeSantis talking about the border aid that they had just mentioned during the press briefing. We're going to watch him. I think he mentions the White House. He also mentions Texas and what's going on over there, which we've covered that. Plus, we just saw old man Walter there. So he's going to mention some stuff like that. So we're going to cover that, and then we're going to be talking about how California wants to ban natural gas heaters and furnaces by 2030. And then we're going to cover New York governor proposing first ever statewide ban on gas hookups of new buildings. I have some bullet points and stuff to read, but then there's like a video. It's just under 2 minutes, I believe, of her talking about this, and we're going to watch that. And that's what we're going to cover. So let's move on to Ron DeSantis. I'm going to be posting No, it's a YouTube video. The link for all of this stuff, including the press briefing, will be in the description after this is no longer live. So anybody who wants to check that stuff out for themselves, we'll get it. We'll post the article links in the chat when it's time for that. But for this, all right. So he's going to talk about plans for migrants and how he's trying to accommodate Americans by preparing for the same conditions that Texas is currently facing. He mentions how he sees what's happening over there, and he's trying to put things in place so it doesn't have the same impact. He talks about how migrants are coming from Cuba. They're leaving their boats on the shore, on people's property. They're destroying property while they're, I don't know, coming into the country illegally. And so he's trying to put stuff in place so homeowners and stuff do not have to pay or feel too much strife over this happening. And then he heavily blames Old Man Walter and whatnot. So drop some ones in the chat. I'm going to read through really quick. But drop some ones in the chat if you are ready to move forward, get this started. Yeah, Gary, I don't know much about that flat earth stuff. I think it's funny that now that I'm an adult, almost everything that I was taught as a kid is just not real anymore. The dinosaurs that they told us were the way they were are not the way they are now. Like if you watch Jurassic Park, I bet you can't name 2 dinosaurs on the movie. If you watch the new stuff. Earth is not round anymore, it's flat. Space isn't real. What else is it? There's so much stuff. It's so much stuff. I can't even keep track. I don't even care anymore. I don't even care anymore. Dinosaurs could totally be fake. That's whatever. Doesn't matter to me. Pluto's planet or it's not a planet. Doesn't matter to me. Don't care about that. Gravity and all that fake. Don't care. Don't care. I like Chinese food. So, I mean, there's that.
So we were seeing...
Try to be happy, hooligans. It's the wealthiest you'll ever be.
That they had onboarded and put them in the Florida Keys. Well, they didn't have the ability to take care of those folks. There's vessels left everywhere and people's property and all this. So we declared a state of emergency. We provided Coast Guard the assistance that they've asked for. We are going to clear the vessels free of charge for those residents because it wasn't their fault. Maybe we'll send the bill to Biden. We'll see. But the reality is... the Coast Guard stretched so thin, and what the Coast Guard has told us is we are not going to get additional resources from the federal government. Like, this is what we have. So we're basically filling gaps that the federal government should be filling and would be filling if they wanted to do it. I would just tell the White House, not only has the Coast Guard asked us to help, but we have no choice but to help because of your neglect and incompetence.
So the Coast Guard requested twin-engine FWC aircraft to patrol the shoreline down in Florida. And you heard him say the state of Florida is going to pay the residents. This is what residents down in Texas are fuming about because the migrants walk into their yard, they damage their fences, they cut holes in their fences. So Ron DeSantis is saying, I'm going to pay the Florida residents if these migrants pull up in their backyard in a boat on the water. I'll pay to remove those boats so the residents aren't stuck with that bill. And he said, then I'm going to send the bill to Joe Biden, perhaps.
And by the way, they say the same thing about Governor Abbott. Every time he tries to get a hold of the border, put these kids on bus because they've been overwhelmed, he says he's a political stunt. Again, the press secretary totally unprepared. If you get briefed and said there was a request from the Coast Guard to get Florida's help, you don't make that statement. But it's a laziness that she goes about with, where she's a pure politician, but she's
just wearing out Karine.
Jen Psaki was with the facts.
Well, they have to also double down on the...
I didn't hear Jen Psaki say a whole lot of facts either, though.
...that he did that. Then they're admitting that they've created this migration problem, illegality problem. And
it's
they won't
the
admit
same
it.
answer. It's the same answer. Political stunt. Political stunt. This is a political stunt. They're pawns. They're pawns. Meanwhile, these states are hurting, and they don't know what to do with these individuals. They have a heart for the people, but they don't have a place for them, and they shouldn't have to bear the burden, the tax burden, of paying for people that are coming over illegally and not paying into the system.
Wow, she has a brain.
Kill me.
And I mean,
It's refreshing. You know, see a whole lot of people with brains on TV. So that's that. Worcester's wife, Michigan in the news, Hart Middle School, yeah, in Rochester, field trip to Detroit, Symphony end up, stripper poles, Nicky's, yeah, I seen that. I can't show all that stuff because the last thing I want is a strike for showing inappropriate content involving children, which is silly because that's not what it is, but that's what YouTube will consider it, which is why I haven't covered it. But yeah, no, I know that that's going on over there. And then the school is also suing all the news agencies that showed those images and talked about the story, saying that it's like it's like defamation of character for the school, but then it's also like a security risk to the children for showing those photos of them dancing on stripper poles while they stopped into some sort of club during the day for lunch during a field trip. So, I mean, I guess we just covered it, right? If I find an article, I'll post it in Gilded. But yeah, that's the only reason why we haven't covered it on here is because YouTube stupid community guidelines. But yeah. All right, so now we're going to be talking about how California wants to ban natural gas heaters and furnaces by 2030. I'm going to grab this link here and post it in the chat so you guys can follow along with me. All right, hooligans. So the link that I just posted in the chat will take you to this Breitbart article. It's talking about how California wants to ban natural gas heaters and furnaces by 2030. California has a group that is called the California Air Resources Board, or CARB. They voted unanimously last week that they are going to pass a plan to ban natural gas heaters and furnaces by 2030. They believe that it will reduce smog and it will help them meet federal ozone standards, and so they can lower greenhouse gas. So that's what they describe in this article, kind of continuing on as we've been discussing how they're trying to ban gas stovetops and stuff. They're going to ban natural gas from our houses. They want everything electric so they can control us. Everything's going to be digital. They already have digital thermostats and all that. They can be controlled by your Google units. Your lights and all that can be controlled by it. Pretty soon your stove, your furnace and everything will be completely electronic. And then when you don't comply, they'll just turn your stuff off. Turn your car off, turn your house off. If they could figure out a way for food to come from the internet, they would starve us if we didn't comply. That's where this is going. That is where this is going. And it's sad because to kids, electronics and the internet and stuff is like really neat and cool. And so they're growing up with this. And by the time they're adults, being controlled by community guidelines and electronics will just be normal. They won't even know any different. They won't know what it's like to be unplugged. Be unplugged from the internet. There won't be a way. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it so there's no way to unplug from the internet, because you're free as long as you're away from the internet. But they try to make it more convenient to use the internet and use your phone for everything, and make everything else inconvenient or obsolete. And they're really deleting our possibility for freedom, and we don't realize it. And a lot of it comes through solutions to problems we don't care about. They name a problem, we don't care, we turn our ears off, and then they make a solution and they force all of us to participate in the solution for the greater good, just like Nazis did. And we're being strong-armed and we don't even realize it. It's happening so subtly that we don't realize that it's happening, and it is. All right, moving forward, I'm going to post another link in the chat. We're going to talk about how New York governor proposes first ever statewide ban on gas hookups for new buildings. There's a video that's under 2 minutes of her speaking. We're going to watch that. But first, let me post a link in the chat for you guys. Absolutely, Relic. Between the gun bans that have affected 9 states now and banning of natural gas, it's getting dark real quick. Real quick. So the link that I just posted in the chat on all the platforms will bring you to the article on the screen talking about New York governor proposes first ever statewide ban on gas hookups in new buildings. New York Governor Kathy Hochul, maybe, has proposed. She proposed back on Wednesday a first of its kind statewide ban of natural gas hookups in all new buildings. The New York governor mentioned in her annual state of the state speech that may be a typo. That new construction in New York will be zero emissions by 2027, and she mentions, we will build a climate-friendly electric homes and promote electric cars, trucks, and buses. So New York's trying to go full commie by 2027, or at least that's what they allude to in this Yahoo News article. So we're gonna start this video here. I have not watched the video. Hopefully this isn't gonna be my downfall. I doubt it. But we'll see what these commies think and feel. I got Captain Jack Sparrow doing the sign language up in the corner there. It's being blocked by the Yahoo News, but you know, it is what it is.
By last night's record-shattering rainfall. And what's so fascinating is that
ooh, she's got a real pretty voice.
Park, for example, 3.15 inches in 1 hour. It broke a record literally set 1 week earlier. That says to me that there are no more cataclysmic, unforeseeable events. We need to foresee these in advance.
It's like she can't talk around her teeth.
And we learned a lot of lessons. From Sandy, we built back resiliency. Our coastal shorelines are in much better shape than they had been. But where
look at the compliance cloths, as far as the eye can see.
With the higher elevations now, where the flash floods, which were unknown before, this is the first time we've had a flash flood event of this proportion in the city of New York and in the outlying areas. We haven't experienced this before, but we should expect it the next time. And that means we have to continue investments in infrastructure, working in partnership with our federal government and support from Senator Schumer and President Biden, who are working so hard to get the infrastructure dollars back to our states so we can build this up, working in partnership with the mayor and other officials to work collaboratively and get this done so we can take care of the drainage shortcomings in our streets, because when the streets get flooded, what happens next? The water rushes down, not just through the highways, but also finds its way to penetrate our subway system. And as a result, what happened yesterday, trains were shut down, people were stranded. The fear that they must have experienced when this occurred, I cannot imagine.
Fear sells.
Happen again.
The other day, a hornet's nest.
God, you can't even stop the ads. You will buy my product or I will beat you over the head with communism and liberal feelings. Get out of here with that trash. Jeb, as if the power grid could handle the switch to electric. Yeah. It's all smoke and mirrors. All these politicians, it's all smoke and mirrors. Captain Seamus, state of the state is correct. It's like State of the Union, but individual state. Thank you for letting me know, Captain Seamus. I'm a little ignorant to all of this stuff, so I appreciate you keeping me tip-top over here. Well, that's it, hooligans. That's all I have for today. There's nothing else on the schedule, nothing else going on with the White House. Something crazy happens, we'll of course go live and cover it. Otherwise, I will see you guys tomorrow at 1 p.m. for another Coffee with Hooligans. No Coffee with Hooligans on Sunday because I need a day to recharge my batteries. There's been a little confusion about that in the comments. I take Sunday to recharge my batteries because there usually isn't much news on Sunday. That's why. If I do it on Saturday or a Monday or something, then of course a whole bunch of stuff will happen and everybody will be mad at me thinking I'm lazy sitting here doing nothing. And a lot of times when it's my day off, I do feel like I'm being lazy and I'm sitting here doing nothing. It makes me feel worthless and I hate that. But I need to take a day to recharge my batteries. Otherwise I burn out and then I take a 3-month nap and I don't get out of bed or do anything. I just disappear because I can't seem to wake up because I'm completely burned out from head to toe. Because I eat, sleep, and breathe this. I literally sit here in this chair all day, every day, and work on improving everything. So I take Sunday to recharge my batteries. It's a low news day. But people have confused that with religious reasons, and I would like to be clear that that is not why. It's not because it's Sunday, and a lot of people think Sunday is when, you know, God or Jesus or whatever wants you to rest. Well, that's not really true because Sunday is the beginning of the week, not the end of the week, so it's not the 7th day. And so on and so forth, right? We could talk on and on. I just want to be clear. I take Sundays off because I won't be missing out on the opportunity to hang out with you guys and cover news because there just isn't news to cover on Sunday. So that's why I take Sunday off. But if your day off is Wednesday, I want you to have the most fun on that Wednesday. The opposite of work is play. It is not rest. You have to make sure you play to recharge your batteries. And that's what I do on Sundays. But tomorrow's Saturday, so I will see you 1 p.m. Eastern time for another Coffee with Hooligans. We'll see what happens and how it goes. As long as you guys are there, that's all that matters. That's all that matters to me because we're all in this together. I appreciate you guys. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we're going to wrap this up. All right, hooligans, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I just sit here and say the Sports Center jingle to myself over and over again. I don't know. Do what makes you happy, hooligans. That's all I can say. Do what makes you happy. I appreciate all of you more than I can put into words. Big shout out to everyone that made donations. Join the membership program or purchase any merch. I appreciate all of you, and I would not be able to do this without you. So thank you guys so much for all your support. I'll see you on the next live. Until then, stand tall, shine bright, and that's a wrap.